You are listening to Fox Radio 910 and 104.3. Welcome to Front Porch Tales, sponsored by Crowning Touch Senior Moving Services of Roanoke, Virginia. My name is Linda Balentine, the president of Crowning Touch and your host for this series. I travel into the mountains to interview the people of Appalachia and collect their share of memories. So now, we invite you to sit a spell with us and listen to stories, both historical and current, that emanate from the heart of Appalachia. All righty, so here we are with Lester again, reminiscing about chestnut in the mountains of Appalachia. And we were talking about learning how to put a split rail fence together, and there is a right way to lock those rails so that if you've got a bull on one side and cows on the other, you've got a fence that will stand up to it. And I used to go check the, we used to haul what was left of the chestnut. The last chestnuts died around 1950. Here in the mountains.
Right, during the blight that came in.
That was 25% of America's forest.
Oh, it was
on the eastern seaboard.
People don't realize what a loss that was.
They used it for everything. They made their houses. They made their furniture. It burned hot in the stove.
It provided the chestnuts. They used to turn the hogs loose and the animals loose in the wintertime to fatten up and get ready for slaughter because they were so abundant. It was critical for their survival, and it was a major loss to the community.
It started in the 20s. This blight came through and wiped out all the chestnuts, but they were sturdy trees, and they stood for a long time. So when we came, 25 years later, they were still standing.
Yep.
And we used to go and cut down what was standing, split them, especially the great big logs that we wanted to be heavy for the top rail, and they would be half rounded so that you could sit on the top of them at night and gaze into the dark sky. Right. And so we built our fence. And then Bill Will, a local who taught us so much, came on up one day. And after we'd done this beautiful job building all this fence, we had an 80-acre farm, so we fenced it all. And Bill Will came, took one look and said, well, it's nice, but you did it all wrong. And, of course, we had nice horses and nothing was challenging. But he showed us how to do it. And daggone, he stuck right with us.
So much for ego, huh?
That's right. But it was just a matter of changing the way the rails were locked with each other and the way they were facing.
Of doing the locking the rail, how you lock a rail fence. Now, who would know anything like
Nobody,
unless you built fence?
And it really makes a difference because, locked the right way, nothing's going to push against that fence and take it down.
I've watched the rail fences that were built over on Jacob Farm, as you know that this and the Bluegrass Valley, which is pretty open. The winds, all nature's hell fury is running through that place, and those chestnut rail fences never moved.
I know.
Over years and years and years. So, the latest owner took them all down.
Isn't that so?
What was left of the rail fences, removed the rail fences. And I mean, to get rail fence anymore, you just don't.
Right. You're not going to get any rail like that.
There's no rail.
Now, you were telling me about putting a standing seam roof, which is the best kind of roof. It'll last, 150 years. All you do is keep it painted. You put it on a log cabin called the Stewart Cabin on the top of the mountain, of Jack Mountain.
No, it wasn't on the Stewart Cabin.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It was on Sweets.
All right, I understand.
What was who?
Bill Sweet?
Bill Sweet, your neighbor down below you.
That's correct.
Had a camp. And the roof on that camp was going bad. And he asked Billsy, who you happened to be with years before, Billsy to put a tin roof on it.
Right.
And so I'd help Billsy do the tin roof.
Now, was that a chestnut? Was that chestnut?
The
logs?
It was not. It was just a regular camp. That was.
I got
I would call it a sawmill camp.
Okay.
A regular sawmill set up, just sawing lumber and so forth.
Was that the one you were talking about with the knife that you couldn't get in between?
Nope.
Well, that's a different one. All right.
Nope. This is his camp that was below you, where you all lived, in the little hollow below you. The land that he owned, up above, just at the base of the top of the mountain, there was an old log cabin, a chestnut cabin.
That's the one I'm talking about.
That was built by a Colonel Stewart, not the Jeb Stewart that we all know, but a different Stewart that was a Confederate colonel that built this beautiful 2-story home.
Wow.
That it was like the logs were just huge.
But we're talking he built it a long time ago. We're talking something 100 and some years old.
We're talking he built it and he probably was living in it before the war. We're talking 1840s.
Gotcha.
Somewhere around there, original settlers up in there.
And beautifully crafted.
Oh, Meg, artist.
Yeah.
I mean, to build a log cabin, we're talking
with hand tools,
hand-hewn. We're talking both all four sides, and then a dovetail, a beautiful old house peak dovetail on the ends. And literally, I mean, it was a cabin that at that time the roof was coming down off of it. Mm-hmm. Cabin was still good. The top logs were going bad.
Right.
A fortune just in chestnut timber if you sawed it.
Right.
And but anywhere he did such a job that if you put your try to get a pocket knife between the joints, the longitudinal joints or the corner joints, you couldn't. It was so well done. I mean, unbelievable. I haven't seen anything that fine. That's unless it was made with machines.
Right.
But anyway, and you remember that we used to go up there. We used to ride horses, and everybody got into. You've always been a horse person. In fact, I can't believe you don't have one still.
I
but,
know.
You really introduced me into riding horses again.
It was a wonderful time for me, and I got to ride because I got to listen to so many of the tales. And I would always ride with a group of guys.
Oh yeah, there was always horse rides every weekend.
Every weekend.
Everybody was out trail riding all the time back then.
And for some reason, there wasn't a woman along. There was one other wife named Becky who would sometimes go, and then there was me, and I would always go.
Right.
Because I just wanted to listen to their stories and their chatter and all of that stuff.
Of course, when you were on those trail rides, the main thing they loved to do when they went out there is they loved to tip a bottle.
Boy, they did. And the conversation got very
Talking about tipping a bottle.
Lively. That's right.
And I hate to get it because I'm not promoting being, whatever, anything.
Drinking too much, but it's part of the culture.
It was part of the culture. I mean, people here drank because then what else were they going to do? They didn't have anything to do. They drank. But, that was their way of
work hard, live hard,
drink hard.
But I will tell you a story. There was one right after, I'd had a baby, and they came on up through my farm to get me to join. They didn't know that I'd had the baby, and then they stopped, and I said, "Oh, I just had a baby 3 weeks ago," and I said, "I can't go enjoy yourself." So then they galloped up the mountain, and I could hear the sound of the horse's feet sound like drum beats on the shale wagon road that went on up there.
Yeah.
And it just tormented me to the point where I grabbed my little baby, I put her in a backpack on my back, saddled up my horse, and went galloping up after him. And then I got to ride the rest of the ride with them. Now, when you live out in the mountains and you've got a baby, you can't put the baby in the stroller to get the baby to sleep. You can't put the baby in the car seat. So for me, I had trained and broken my own horse that I trusted. So I put the baby in my backpack and used to go on these beautiful rides in the mountains that were absolutely
and after all
fantastic.
I remember you riding when you were pregnant with this same child.
I put shoes
all
on
the
horses.
time. Here would be a 9-month-old woman riding trail rides. And
That's right.
So we wonder why this is a particular child that's used to riding from the womb to being thrown in a backpack. So probably had a lot to do with it. She was comfortable.
She was a great little rider
on
herself.
A horse. She was a great rider.
But it was a funny story because when we got up to the top, they always took their break. They took a break for, they ate their pickled eggs and their Vienna sausages and tipped their little flasks.
Life food.
But I had to go find a great big oak tree to get behind so that I could go nurse my baby.
Right.
And then I changed her diaper. And then when I got back on the horse, we were going down the mountain this time. And this time they were with me. They hadn't been with me when I was coming up the mountain. And one of the old timers rode right along next to me and held my baby's head, which was still supported with her neck, but he thought he needed to hold her head going down the mountain because of the gait of the horse. And then he confessed to me, he was about 75 years old, and he said, "Well, I've been riding these mountains for years, and I ain't never stopped for a diaper change yet." And then we got on down, but then from then on, I just kept on riding. I took her with me.
We used to,
all the time.
Riding in the mountains on horseback is probably the best way to go anywhere.
It was like taking your finger and tracing the profile of a mountain. You got to go, and I used to eat my way cross country because there were berries and apples and
There's really no
pears
place that can stop
wild
you
lettuce.
from going on the horse.
And the spring that you and I were talking about, where I
Up
came on down,
at the Stewart cabin.
there was a fantastic spring, and there was a Confederate States of America
Cup.
ladle with a big handle.
That happened.
It had a big handle.
That's exactly right.
And it hung there. We used to drink out of it.
We drank out of the spring. It's been hanging there since, since the colonel had come back. He had put it there at the spring, and it was nothing for us. Nobody stole it. Nobody was
touched it.
That was what you drank out of the spring with, is that old Confederate cup.
And the water was just crystal clear, and I'll never forget. It had wild lettuce growing around that spring, and you could sit and eat wild lettuce and drink out of this cup, and then later on they hung little glasses.
Yes, they
little
did.
Juice glasses,
yes,
the kind that pimento cheese comes in.
Right.
And the water was so clear that when you picked up one that had been hanging there for months, it was as clear as if it came out of your dishwasher.
Yes, it's very strange.
It was the weirdest thing.
And we used to go on, my gosh, going 20, 30 mile.
Oh yeah,
rides.
I would ride 40 miles on horseback. Yeah. And when as soon as the horse would get hot, then you stick to the horse really well. Because
absolutely.
They get
when
they're dry,
you get stuck. Absolutely.
They're slick.
You could slip around.
But when they get
wet. And of course, they had to be what kind of horses?
What do you mean?
Gated horses.
Easy gating horses, yes.
There's a difference, quarter horses that go around here and chase cattle and so forth, or the American saddle breed or Tennessee walkers that are gated horses, where you could actually put a cup of water on the top of your head and ride this horse and never spill the cup or spill the water because they were such easy riders. That's why they called them easy gators.
That's correct. American saddle horses. Very easy gating.
Tennessee walkers.
That's right, Tennessee walkers, and we had those horses.
Yep.
And it was wonderful, and you could also stay out in front with those horses. I had one named Centerfold.
Me into all of that.
Oh, it was.
And I remember Centerfold. You got us into horses.
Yeah.
And then we started buying some gated horses, and then I started doing my own shoeing. Not my shoeing, but I'd clean the frogs and clean the hooves and trim them.
Yeah, you need
cut
to
them and trim them, and I started doing that myself. And
I ended up shoeing horses because I couldn't find
we couldn't
anybody.
Get a farrier. Yes.
I had no phone. And of course, I rode all the time, and it was so rocky up in the mountains, and I would throw a shoe, and then I'd have to wait weeks. Well, I wasn't going to wait weeks,
right?
So I just learned how to do it myself.
Learned how to shoe, yeah.
And when I put shoes on, they didn't come off; they just stayed on. They used to wear at the toe; they would wear in half. That's how they were.
We ended up start boron treating them.
Oh, I did put boron on all of them. Yeah. I would take
have
the
somebody
shoes,
get the shoes done, have the boron put it, and the boron helped keep the shoe from wearing down, especially where the toe of the hoof.
It gave them grab strength, because
good grab strength, especially in slick areas and so forth.
Going down the road, sometimes we'd have to cross the highway.
On the road, absolutely.
I remember with some of these guys, we would have such fun. And we would go riding, and of course they would be drinking. And there was one fine guy who he would wind up upside down on his horse or riding the horse backwards. And he had such a good horse. All of these guys were good riders, and they had great horses. Oh. And he was just really, really funny that. Do
you remember Houston Smith?
I remember the name. Why do I remember
Houston,
that name?
He was a contractor around here.
That's right. He built those houses across the river from us.
No, he didn't build. No, he didn't do those. But he did the Monterey plumbing and maintained the water and lines and stuff in the county and all that. And he would do homes and stuff for people. He'd do septic systems and stuff like that.
Okay, you got a story.
First introduction. Yes, my story.
Let's hear it.
Living out where Roanne lived, out in the valley house at Fitz's. Anyway, when I first came here, and I had a friend of mine, Edmund Hebner, who I met here, and his family's from this area and from pioneers from this area or settlers from this area. And anyway, we became dear friends, and we liked to fish all the time.
Yeah, he was a great fisher.
We went down. We were out wanting to go fishing this morning, and it was hunting season. And we were walking the road, and all of a sudden this truck comes by, and it's Houston. And he goes, boys, it's hunting season. We're going, yeah, it's hunting season. We're getting ready to go fishing. And he goes, yeah. And we just sat there and we chatted and and I was kind of new to the area. So I'm trying to do everything I can to get along with all the locals. You know, I don't want to upset him or anything. And he goes, well, boys, it's hunting season. Let's have a drink. Let's celebrate and have a drink. I don't drink. Okay. I mean, right. I'm not drinking. I'm not hard. I can't tell you how much hard liquor. I have, but very,
I guess you're not a drinker.
I'm not a drinker.
Right.
I have a beer more than I would have a liquor.
Right.
So anyway, he goes in the back of his pickup truck, this old panel truck, the work truck he had. He reaches in, he pulls out this fifth of whiskey. And I'm going, oh gosh, it's whiskey. And he it's brand new, pops the top off and throws the top in the,
and starts to guzzle
out in the weeds.
Oh no! So
I was going.
He's going to finish that bottle.
What are you doing? You just threw the top of the bottle out in the weeds. What do you? And he goes, and all of a sudden, next thing he turned the bottle up. I just looked and I was going, oh my God, oh my God, And so I'm going, okay. And they passed it to my friend Edmund. Edmund, he took a hammer of it, and then he passed it to me, and I'm going, oh no, I don't even want to drink this, but I'm gonna. All right, I'll be nice. And I started to tip. And I go, well, boy, if you're gonna take a slug, take a slug. So I went, okay, blub, 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 and I gave it back to him, and blub, 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 handed him, blub, 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 and I took a little teeny sip, and then I handed it back to him, and he did it. The bottle was gone.
No joke.
Yep, and I'm going, oh my God, thank God. Whatever. He throws the bottle out in the weeds. Goes in the back of the truck.
Oh no.
He reaches in.
No.
And pulls out another fifth.
Oh, come on.
Yep.
And this is a guy that's going to go out and hunt.
Yep. And all of a sudden pops the top off.
No.
Throws it in the weeds. And I went, oh, hell no. I don't care if I like him or what. I don't care. End of the story.
Yeah, what happened?
We didn't get to go fishing.
I guess not. And he probably didn't get to go hunting, did he?
He got in his pickup truck.
No
What
kidding.
was left of the bottle, because I said, I'm done. I was so drunk.
That's a mountain man story.
And they took off. And let me tell you, them old timers, that's what it was like water to them. I mean, they just were used to doing it and so forth. They were alcoholics in that regard.
Right.
Hardest working people you want to be around.
I know. They didn't miss work on Monday morning.
They didn't miss work. They weren't, that was just, that's what they did.
I know.
And those 2 weeks,
hunting season.
I got a story with another encounter I had out with that whole group and over the years of those whole group.
What happened?
Oh, well, it's just.
Oh, that's another story.
Just I went out to one of the camps that he went out to, where they have like a group of camps out there, an old bus they had out in the woods where they stayed.
Yeah.
Went into this guy, Luther and Lester Hammer, more characters.
Right.
They all got together. These are all World War II vets, man.
Right.
I mean, Battle of the Bulge people.
Right. I gotcha.
Hardcore.
Right.
Yeah. No bones. Patriots.
Yeah. I understand.
Patriots.
I'm with you.
Good men.
Right.
Hard men.
Right.
You didn't do anything against them.
Right.
Anyway, I went out there and they had a trunk out there in the bus. They said, here, go in that trunk over there and grab us a bottle. I said, okay, open the trunk. I'm talking a trunk full. There had to have been 100 fists of whiskey in that thing. Or how many could you fit in a big, huge, blanket chest, trunk, this. How many could you get in it?
Yeah, a lot.
It was full. And that was their supply for hunting season. For hunting season, I couldn't have drunk that in 15 lifetimes. Anyway, that the drinking of the old timers and stuff. I mean,
they did rally.
They were hard. They were hardcore.
Now, back then, I don't know what the law is now. Can you hunt on Sundays? Did they open that up?
No, you could not hunt on Sundays.
That was the one day I could enjoy riding in the mountains.
Yeah, you
because
cannot,
I
you
do
could
remember.
Not hunt you can now, but you couldn't back then.
Well, that's what I mean.
And you couldn't buy. And Highland County was a dry county.
Right.
You had to buy your liquor from West Virginia.
Right.
So you had to go a long way. So they stocked up.
Well, I remember enjoying riding on Sunday, and I learned not to ride on Saturdays during hunting season.
Yep.
Because my dog, who was a red setter, would go out in front of me, and he would get shot at. I mean, they were just shooting at whatever. When something came rushing at them, it's hard to see.
Yep,
I get that. And he was.
It wasn't it wasn't common for that to happen because these people are hunters.
That's right. But some of the
these
people
know
that came
the
to
difference
these mountains,
between but you have people that come here
that
just don't know squat,
bozos,
and they're just ready to kill something.
That's correct.
And they'll shoot at the first movement you have, and they're always the problem.
Right.
The locals that are here that are gun savvy, that know. I mean, amazing. When you talked about learning how to hunt here, right. I remember coming here. And we'd be sitting there talking to somebody, and all of a sudden said, "Look at them doggone turkeys crossing up there on that ridge up there." Where are them turkeys? I'm talking right there. Can't you see them? They're right there walking across, whole flock of them. I couldn't see squat,
right?
Because you had to really learn how to train your eyes to see the movement and the different color and so forth. Now it's like, I look up there, look at them deer way up there. And we're not talking turkey that were close to us. We're talking turkey that were 500 yards away.
Yeah, right.
A good ways away.
Yeah.
And it used to amaze me how they could pick a deer out of the middle of the woods and so forth and be able to pick it out in just a heartbeat. All of them, all the kids, they were just phenomenal hunters and gatherers.
What do you call? It's just on the tip of my tongue. It's not it's not a quail. It's the other little guy that looks
a grouse.
Grouse that would thump.
Yes, they would drum in the springtime.
I know that.
They were called stupid chickens.
Oh.
Because they would actually come out in front of your vehicles and stuff. Right up above the road, right here, my house, right here. I had a grouse that I'd come out and stand in front of my vehicle and wouldn't move. So I'd get out of my vehicle. I ran over to the thing. And it'd jump up on me. I'd grab a hold of the grouse, and I'd throw it down over the bank and try to get back in my vehicle quick enough so I could continue driving down the road. And he'd flog me before I got to my door.
Isn't that something?
So this would go on and on. Well, it turned out a neighbor of mine, Jay Hebner, was coming up and came up the other direction. When all this is going on, this grouse comes running out of the woods, jumps up on my leg, flogging me, which is flapping at me and trying to spur me.
Right.
And I grab a hold of the thing, and I didn't want to hurt it. And I'd throw it back down, and we'd do this 5 or 6 or 7 times. And he was sitting in his truck just looking at it. He goes, "I've never seen anything like this in my life." I'm watching this grouse jumping on this guy. Guy's grabbing it and throwing it down the woods. Before he gets into his truck, they're doing it over and over. And I finally threw it far enough down in the woods where I finally got by, and he had his window down. He said, "I'd have never believed it if I hadn't seen it."
Well, lots of people would have taken that home and eaten him.
They would have.
Because they hunt the grouse.
Unfortunately, some youngster
killed
that grouse.
And they have beautiful feathers. You can find them.
They're absolutely beautiful. And it's actually that a grouse has a light meat to it. It's not a real strong flavored bird for a wild bird.
Right.
Most wild things are dark meat and strong flavored.
Right.
But not a grouse.
And not a squirrel.
Squirrel. I got to introduce that old squirrel gravy and squirrel
gravy.
Oh my Lord, who's going to eat squirrel?
Well, and the truth is,
delicious.
That's little boys learn how to shoot and hunt, starting with squirrel.
Started with squirrel.
They go out
squirrel and rabbit hunting.
That's correct.
Yep. Learn with those 22s, but oh yeah, gosh, I couldn't hunt a lick when I first came here, and then. I went out with the guys and went out with a lot of the local folks, and I started learning the ways and deer hunting and turkey hunting, and I became addicted to turkey hunting, and have hunted now for a long, long time.
Did you ever cook a turkey? I hunted one, killed one with Bill Will. He made me carry it back. He taught me how to get the feathers off of it, and I popped it in the oven for Thanksgiving. It was the toughest nastiest old bird ever. I got an old one, but
You don't matter what you get. They're hard. You have to pre-boil them.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that. I was so stupid. I thought it was the equivalent of a butterball. I just stuck it in there.
Yeah. Well, it's so weird now. Now I'm known as one of the better turkey hunters in the whole county.
So do you eat them? Do you eat them?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so you know how to cook them.
Oh, I absolutely know how to cook them. I'm not I don't care to go through all the rigmarole of defeathering them and getting the drumsticks. There's just not much in there.
Right.
I don't mess with it. I'll take the turkey breasts and then I'll use that and I'll pound them and I will season them.
But their drumsticks aren't good either?
The drumsticks are good if you want to boil them and so forth, and they're good for people make salad out of them.
I got you.
And all that. I just don't. And, somebody said it's like deer. I'll take the back straps out of them and the hams out of them.
Right.
A neck if it's not, and I let the rest of it go. Oh, well, what are you talking about? You killed the animals. Go, no, there's other animals that are going to live off of this, this carcass.
That's right.
So you're not wasting, nothing gets wasted.
No, nothing does get wasted.
And there's certain things, I don't kill bucks because I can't eat them.
Right.
I'm not interested in having the horns on my shed just to say, look at me, I can kill something. If I can't use it, I'm not taking it.
I understand.
So I don't hunt buck meat, because if you get a buck and rut and you take a bite out of that, you'll never eat deer meat again.
That's right.
I found that out the hard way. Didn't eat it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then my kids were raised on deer meat.
Right.
And that's what you do out here. It's a whole lot cheaper getting good, healthy, organic deer meat and lean meat.
I know, and the women are canning
ducks and
deer meat. Canned deer meat makes the best quote unquote deer stroganoff you've ever had.
How about dulling?
How about what?
Dulling suckers.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you do when I remind you.
Okay, go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Okay, dulling suckers is when you go out in the wintertime, cut a hole in the ice. When the sucker fish come up into the streams and you can see because the water's clearing up.
Right.
And you have a stick with a piece of piano wire on it. And the fish swims through the piano wire, and then you tighten it around the fish.
You're kidding.
Throw them up on the ice, and that's called dulling suckers. And all the old timers used to do it. And then they take the suckers home, which is, a garbage fish, really. And they'd can them. And that's what they made their fish cakes out of.
Wow. Now, see, you're telling me stuff I never knew, and I've never even heard
probably forgot that.
Gosh, I've never done it.
It was called dulling. Let's go dulling.
Well, I'll be. Now, you're sharing something with me that I never had the pleasure of doing. Well, we're at the end again.
Oh,
I've got to say bye.
Quick?
Let's meet on the porch again.
Absolutely.
Next Friday at noon. God bless you, Lester.
God
Bye-bye.
bless you, Linda.
You've been listening to Front Porch Tales, courtesy of Crowning Touch Senior Moving Services of Roanoke, Virginia, the only moving company with a consignment shop, auction house, and real estate division. We are a one-stop shop for any senior making a move. Check out our website at crowningtouchusa.com. Or if you are planning a move, call Anna at 540-982-5800 to arrange a free estimate. Our consignment shop is open Tuesday through Saturday, and we accept items on appointment and offer pickup and delivery. And don't forget to check out our monthly browse and bid auctions at 6712 Williamson Road, Roanoke, where you can bid online on over 1,700 items each month. Meanwhile, let's get back together next Friday at noon for more Appalachian Tales from the Front Porch on Fox 910 and 104.3.